going live again. We're not exactly sure what happened there, but yeah, so we're back now. And we're back here too.
Oh, we never stopped.
We never stopped.
We just kept on rolling,
Maybe,
baby.
could it be that I didn't touch it though? I didn't do anything. That was so weird. Anyway, we were talking about what? Let's face each other.
Got my side profile.
So we were talking about conspiring with the universe. Oh my God, this is so much more intense and intimate. It's like, whoa.
We're going to eye gaze. Just kidding.
This is funny. Okay, so we were talking about conspiring with the universe and how important it is to track your belief system. So let's say we're like trying to manifest something in our lives. We're attempting to test this law of attraction theory out, this field of potentiality experience, right? Of tapping into what's already present in the field, but also being able to consciously direct that energy towards manifesting something in our reality, right? One thing that I have learned is that if I force something to happen, it doesn't actually happen the way that I want it to, right? It's more when I allow and open myself to receiving that frequency that those things come into my, so I have to literally open myself up to the field of potentiality and become one with it. And then whatever densities show up in my field, or I recognize that there's some thought forms or densities, I have to look at it, address it, and deal with it right there and then, because otherwise it's going to potentially block whatever I'm receiving, right? So I have to be in a place of receptivity, but also be paying attention to that which is potentially interfering with my flow of energy, right?
I think, yes, I agree. And I think that sometimes I know I've made it more complicated for myself than it needs to be.
Right.
So I can honestly look at myself and say, you know, if we're talking about money or manifesting that, or, you know, having the ideal relationship, I can say, well, I don't know that I necessarily believe that I deserve that or that it's possible for me. And I don't have to do a bunch of introspection to know that.
Right.
And then I can say, okay, well, okay, so maybe I do feel that way, but is that true for me? Because
is it actually true?
Because if you look around, it's like, you know, look at people who are making tons of money on YouTube doing YouTube videos, right? If it's possible, if they're doing it.
If they're doing it, we can do it.
Right? I'm on my way, world, my child. But I mean, it's possible. And you see other people, you know, emulating these things or having these things that you want to have or that you aspire to be. And so, you know, that in and of itself, I feel like can be very, you know, transformative, and just having an honest reflection and say, okay, well, let's talk about I'll talk about relationships for a second. Maybe part of me doesn't believe that I deserve to be happy or that it will happen for me. Well, that's bullshit. So what am I going to do to help take that out and to choose something else? And at this point, at this juncture, right now in my life, I'm just choosing to believe something different.
There you go.
I'm just going to choose to believe something different, because I'm like, you know what? That's crap. And I can do EFT, which amazing emotional freedom technique. I love. I like
plugging Earth's Angel, because she does that and she's awesome at it. She just got her first office. And yes, I love you. Ursula, if you watch this video, just know EFT rocks.
EFT rocks. Sonia Sophia is who I got introduced to. She's a burner. I want to. Anyway, I digress. So there's things, there's all kinds of things that we can do, but at the end of the day, I think for me, at this point in time, it's just about a choice. And so I'm going to choose that when I have those crazy rap songs going on in my brain in a loop, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to obsess hamster wheel over something positive and just keep working that out. And then there's so much science. And this book that I keep talking about, E Squared, is based on physics. Okay, this is science she's talking about. It's not just these spiritual terms or this kind of woo-woo approach. It's actual science. So for the skeptical part of my brain, that's really, really helpful.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of people are framed and their reference point is from science because they've grown up that way. And a lot of the younger generations actually grew up with scientific sort of like, you have to prove that it works. Da, 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 da. And I grew up with a scientific father, so I had that as well. But what I did is I rebelled against that and went fully in the opposite direction. But then I proved it scientifically and brought it back around, right? Through religious science and through forms of prayer and science, spiritual mind treatments, I actually learned scientific forms of prayer. And then I demonstrated what I was praying for. And that's how I went about it. So I scientifically was proving the spirituality. So that was really helpful for me, because then I had a merging of the two. I had a bridge, right, between the two worlds. Because I had a very religious mother and a very scientific father. And so I had like these mixed messages going on all the time. So I had to find my way and navigate through. And that was part of the problem, I think, is there was a lot of oppressive energy from the scientific framework, right? Whereas now it's different than younger generations. They have a different, it's not as oppressive. It's different. And it's smart and brains and like, okay, I'm going to figure this out, right? Whereas when I was growing up, it was a very different reality for that, in that way. So also to say that when we make those choice points, the universe can then help us co-create something, because those choice points, we have to be in full resonant yes and a full agreement with what it is that we are conspiring to do. And we have to, once we've made that choice, it's not like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. It's more like, no, actually, I'm going to do this. I am choosing this. I am redirecting my focus to choose this reality. So then anything that comes up that isn't that starts to reveal itself, right? And then we have the opportunity to actually look at it and to release it, and not just redirect our focus, but actually address what's going on so that we can clear it out, so that we can move through it and clear it and integrate it and learn the lesson from it and move on, right? So that's really helpful too, is knowing that it's important to address whatever's happening in the field so that we can be fully clear and available to receive that which we are conspiring with the universe to receive.
I think the first step in co-creating with the thread of life that's in all things is just getting clear on what do you want, and maybe not even definitives. Not even my tarot teacher Sage passed along some wisdom to me that felt really good and helped me move forward.
Sage from Asheville?
Yeah, Sage Sanson. She's amazing.
Hey, we love her.
But not even what do you want to do, but who do you want to be? How do you want to feel?
How do you want to show up in the world?
It's just like, it's even simpler than that. How do you want to feel? I want inner peace. I want to feel peaceful. I want to feel purposeful. I want to feel relaxed in my body, in my mind. Okay, so that's the first step. So it's like getting clear on what you want, and a million times people have asked me, well, what do you want to do? And my answer is always, I have no fucking idea. I don't know what I want to do. I have a million things I want to do. That's no too big. That is too big.
What are you talking about? I got so many things going on.
Don't ask me that question. I'm going to have a panic attack. But I'll tell you how I want to be in the world. I'll tell you how I want to feel. And that's a great place to start.
Yeah.
Because then it like takes the pressure off, and then you can say, okay, so I want to feel this way, and well, maybe this thing would be cool, or I'd like to do this, and then people come into your world like to reflect things back to you, give you possibilities that maybe you didn't think of, or suggestions for a book or a class or a friend or just something to think about. What are your intentions for being in this place? Do you need stars and sunlight? Do you like being in a busy city? Like, get real elementary with yourself.
Yeah.
When you're trying to
what
figure
are
out
your
these
basic
things.
needs that need to be met too?
Yeah.
Like, let's get to, everyone has their core basic needs, and their core, every person in nonviolent communication, they talk about this. There's like these overall human needs that we have, right? And if those needs aren't being met, we can't actually get a lot done, because we have to have like basic needs met. So, but then it goes into the core emotional needs that are necessary for how we want to feel, right? So we feel safe in the world. And so we've got to make ourselves feel safe. That's what I believe, is like, we have to find ways to allow ourselves to be safe and allow ourselves to feel safe, so that when we are doing all this work, it's actually going to show up and manifest itself in the reality of things. But if we don't feel safe, it's not going to happen, because there's fear and there's all these other influencing things. So my concentration in what I share is that let's look at all that shit and get it the fuck out of there. Let's get it out. Let's move it out. Let's just clear the way for there to be the good stuff to come in. Yeah, and that may mean addressing some darkness and some shadow.
So
right?
that's, yeah. So I've found in my journey, in my path, that trying to change something. So let's say I've dealt very intensely with insecurity and jealousy, especially in romantic relationships. This has been a big theme for me. And learning about astrology has helped me understand, but really only like, oh, well, you got this whatever in Scorpio, and that's why you're kind of crazy. That's great, but like not that helpful.
And human design as well. Yeah.
All of that. But I think it's even simpler than that. So
yes, it is simple. Can be.
And just accepting that those things exist. Accepting that, okay, I have had a tendency towards, lack of consciousness or jealousy or insecurity. Mm-hmm. And it's okay, because we all are flawed. And we're all doing the best that we can. And it's like, absolutely, just being able to take some of that pressure off of myself has been incredibly helpful. And then energy cannot be created and destroyed, right? You just transmute it, or you send it to something. It gets changed in some way, but it doesn't ever just disappear. So when you have, when you have this insecurity or this fear and you keep fighting to change it, what you end up doing is creating more of a problem. Yeah. So instead of doing that, you just say, you know what? Yep, this is some of my shit and it doesn't smell great, but I'm willing to just be with it and to honor it and to say, it served a purpose. And now I can choose with conscious awareness if that's something that I want to continue with moving forward in my life, or if I'm ready to say, okay, you can sit over here and we're just going to cook you in the sunlight for a little while and make the intention that I acknowledge that it's there. I know what it feels like in my body when it's coming up. But I know that I am not that. I am not.
You are not that. I am not
so
much more than that.
I am not my financial situation at present. I am not my living situation at present. I am not it's all, I think it's all where we come in whole and then we forget who and what we really are. And then it's like a remembering.
Social conditioning and
all of
everything.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's really hard right now, especially with media and
politics, which is a whole nother added thing of like social media and like
it's hard.
Influence of energy, just like being information overload, like constant levels of information. And so I was saying this yesterday, like I can plug in at any moment at 24 hours a day and tap in and talk to somebody anywhere in the world or find out what's going on. Like and then I can also choose to set my phone down and not engage. And be like, oh, maybe I should focus my energies over here on painting my thing. We are now being required on some level to make more definitive choices for ourselves, right? To support our expansion of consciousness. And so a lot of times in the past, we didn't have all those influences. So it was different. Like when I grew up, we didn't have computers. We didn't have internet. We didn't have social media. Those three factors just alone, and cell phones, cellular, we didn't have any of that. So I was 31 before I had a cell phone. 31 years old. So I went 31 years without any sort of electronics in my reality. And somehow I functioned, somehow I managed to work and make money, and you know what I mean? So it's like, but the younger generations, they grew up with it. They don't know anything different. So they have had that learning curve from the very beginning to allow them to then now be, woo, going, whereas our generation, we didn't have it, 31 years old was my first cell phone. It was one of those big, literally one of those big things. And then from there, it was a flip phone. And, so I didn't have the internet we didn't have the internet really technically until the year 2000. That's only 19 years ago. That's only in the past 20 years has all of this happened. And that's a fast transition.
We're moving fast.
We're moving fast.
Yes.
So I think what's really important is that we understand how fast we're moving and we give ourselves time to adjust, right? And not beat ourselves up because we don't have the best website or blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh my God, if we only focused on that, we're not going to get anything done.
Which is what I've been doing for.
Right. So we want to amplify our true essence, our true amplification of our magic within us, our life force energy, to be able to then amplify and bring forward that which is our offering to the world. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's funny. Hi, Bob. He's gone now, I think. He might still be there. I don't know. Say hi if you're still there.
Uh-huh. Hello, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, it's Bob. We had a baby. It's a boy.
Baby boy Bob. All right. So anyway, what I feel is important when you're conspiring with the universe is that we are allowing ourselves to come full circle with what's happening in our field, so that we acknowledge our shadow if it's there, and we choose another reality, and we choose how we're receiving the field of potentiality and how we can direct that energy to our advantage and to help offer others and be of service to others too. So here's the other piece. It's not all about us. It is all about how are people receiving us too? Is it landing? Are we making a difference, right? Are we able to show up for ourselves and then give permission for other people to show up for themselves, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that I've learned over the years of doing these retreats and doing all the things I've been doing, is like, the more I show up for myself, the more people are commenting about it. And they're like, oh my God, yes, I see this in you. And it's attractive. It gives me permission to be who I am, right? And that is something that I know is part of my medicine now. And I wouldn't have known that had I not had that reflection, right? So in terms of social media, that gives us an opportunity to have that reflection.
We need authentic voices.
Yeah, we need authentic voices. And we need people to reflect back to us. The universe will reflect back to us that which we are putting out, right? That's the law of attraction right there. So it's like, here we go. We're going to put something out and see what comes back, right? And then the universe just shows and says, hey, it's working, or it's not working. You know what I mean? That part's not working. Let's shift that. So what can I learn from when something's not working? What can I learn from this? Like, what can I do to shift that consciousness into how I can receive information and it be beneficial, right? Go, girl. What do you want to say? What do you want to say?
I don't know.
It's getting to be 45 minutes here. Oh my God.
It was just 44:04, actually.
Yeah, it was 4:44. I was going to say that. I jumped ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I'm reading this book like it's the Bible. And
it's your Bible right now.
It is my lifeblood. And taking one day at a time.
Yes, that's the other thing.
Just like really, really thinking about it one day at a time. I love Burning Man. I'm a burner, and I was in a traveling state of transition. I've been kind of mobile for a number of months now, and
which has felt good.
It's been really interesting, and I think that it's helped me get to where I am now, and I'm grateful for that. And I see things only going up from here. So that's great and exciting because I choose so.
Yes.
And knowing that I'm prepared to deal with whatever life hands me. But again, taking things one day at a time and not overwhelming myself. And that to my brain can be kind of confusing because, well, don't you want to plan for the future and make these things? And I think that that's true. But I think ultimately...
But how do you trust the universe if you keep making plans for the future, keep doing all these things, and you don't allow the universe to conspire with you?
Yeah.
Then you can't receive,
well,
right? So it's about
know,
receiving.
I know I tend to worry. And
right.
That's something I know how to do very, very well. And I'm not so interested in continuing that pattern, and to help me not change it, but to just work with it and maybe shift focus off of that to something else.
Yeah.
Is to bring myself back to the moment. to hear what's going on in my brain. So when the crazy rap song comes on, turn it to a different channel, turn the volume up, and just be day by day. What's going on in this? What's going on today?
Full presence in the present moment.
Yeah, that's been tremendously helpful, because I feel like there's so much change happening, and there's so many people that are waking up, and there's this energy about the planet that is exciting, but also kind of terrifying, and people are asking a lot more questions, and we're all being more heart-centered, and that can be really overwhelming. And so also honoring where my body's at. If I feel like I need to take a nap and I'm able, you betcha I'm going to take a nap. If I feel like I want to take a bath and I will, a cup of tea. If I need to go smoke a joint, like whatever that looks like. But just coming back and just like checking in with myself. And I believe that will become less and less, but just being in the flow and taking things one day at a time. Yeah. While having, bigger goals in mind, of course, always strive and reach for something. Have some kind of vague idea of where you're going or where you'd like to go or how you would like to feel.
Something to look forward to. Right. Also is very important.
But I've spent a lot of time worrying and fretting over things that I had no control over and details that I just couldn't know until the moment came. And it got me nowhere. Probably gray hair, but you can't tell because I'm blonde, so I don't know.
Yeah. So one thing I want to share and mention too is, so let's say you're trying to manifest something and you're in that flow and feel the potentiality, and this energy comes into the field and you feel this fear, you feel this energy that's sort of lurking and looming around, right? And you're like, what is that? Like, I don't feel like I'm gonna, like,
I have something for that.
Yes, right.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. You've come to talk to me again. And that's literally what I hear in my head. Like, hello, darkness, my old friend. And I kind of try to laugh about it. And I'm like, okay.
So am I okay right now? Am I safe right now?
Look around.
Checking
it's like
in,
the 5 things. What can you smell? What can you touch? What do you taste? What do you hear? What's the temperature like? Yes. That's, for people with anxiety or something, like that's a really helpful tool. But I had that happen last night when we were talking about twin flames and all of that. And I felt my brain go down this rabbit hole. And I was like, you know what? Hello, darkness, my old friend. I hear you, but I'm going to focus now back on the conversation and what's going on. And it just
then new information comes in.
Yeah, right? it just kind of like floated off. But I mean, again, this has been a long time working on this kind of stuff. But again, it's really being empowered to choose and knowing that if it is true that my thoughts create my own reality, then it must also be true that I can choose my thoughts. And
absolutely,
if that's the case, then I'm going to choose the shit out of the good ones. And when the bad, like when the ones that I don't like come in, I'm like, hey, what's up? And then just like turn the station. And it takes practice. It's like it can be exhausting sometimes. Especially,
absolutely.
My brain's like
monkey mind.
Oh, the monkeys are alive and well. Not as much anymore. We're working on it. We're doing good. We're moving forward in a positive direction. But yes, they are.
Yeah. So I think the other thing is the choice point to choose to conspire with the universe. So when you're in a place of fear, or when you're in a place of feeling like a victim, or you're victimizing yourself and abandoning yourself, right? It is hard to get that energy going. It's hard to find that place within you where it's like, oh, actually, I'm going to allow myself to receive. You have to work through all the layers of whatever's there to try to like clear out anything that would keep you from receiving, right? So that can be, like we were saying, that can be a long process. So we have to put in practical steps to process whatever is needed in order to get to the place that we're clear. And we have to make choices along the way. And we have to be very vigilant about our choices and very vigilant about our thought forms. So what I also recommend is observing your thoughts. Like, start paying attention to what's going through your mind. Start paying attention to what's happening in your consciousness so you can catch those thoughts and be like, oh, wait, I don't actually agree with that thought. Is that true for me? Let's check in. Does that feel real? Like, really, does that resonate with me? No, actually, it doesn't. Okay, let's move on.
It's kind
of, do you know
like
what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like for some reason what came to mind is Like when you stub your toe in the morning and you're like, ah, shit, it's going to be one of those days.
And
then it is.
And then it is one of those days.
It's one thing after another.
And or you're like, what?
Like I was thinking about parking a car and a parking ticket. You know, I'm probably going to get a parking ticket. I'm probably going to get a parking ticket. I'm probably going to get a parking ticket. And it's like you obsess and that's all you think about. And then lo and behold, you got a parking ticket.
Right.
I've also been in the exact same situation where I'm like, parked my car and I'm like, it's going to be fine. Or they always give you parking tickets. It was fine. So, I mean, like, it has happened both ways. I think the point of me saying that is noticing your thoughts. And when you're obsessing and thinking about something over and over and over and over and over again, you're giving it momentum. You're giving it power. Energy flows where your attention goes.
Exactly.
Energy flows where your attention goes. And I think that when we really get a handle on that, then we will see radical change very quickly in our lives.
Very quickly. And things will be revealed to us. And, you know, here's an introduction of some information that a lot of people will be like, what? But for me, what I've noticed is those things aren't actually mine at all. When I actually look at what thought forms are going through my head, what I've realized is a couple of things. One is that's from the mass consciousness field. That's not actually mine. Mm-hmm. That's not an original thought form that I'm having. It's actually coming from the mass consciousness field, and it's a fear that's being projected into my field. And so I can discern and decide what is mine and what isn't, right? And that actually makes a difference, because then I'm like, oh, I don't need that. Like, I don't even need to take that on. Like, it's not mine. It's not welcome here. You know, release it, move on. And then the other thing is interdimensional energies that would be around you that you could possibly be being influenced by. So right now on the planet, and this is important for people to know, because we do create our reality, and then there's others creating our reality too. Like, there's two things going on. It's not just that we are manifestors and that we're doing all this stuff, but there's influences outside of us that are actually influencing in a negative way, sometimes in a positive way. But it's like we need to be willing to see that so that we can counteract it, so that we can go, I'm not giving my power away to that. I'm a sovereign being, you know, like, I'm a sovereign being. I'm here on this planet. I am a creator being. And I'm an organic soul, and I'm going to stay in my body, and I'm going to be fully embodied and in my full power, so that I can be here and manifest my mission and be in my mission and own that shit. Be responsible for my part on the planet, you know? But when you have all these things coming from all these different directions, and social media and false flags and disasters and like all this stuff is influencing our reality in every moment, which we didn't have all that stuff before. Quite frankly, I've lived through a time in history where that wasn't happening. So the introduction of all of that has been very obvious to me, right? Like, very obvious. It used to be very cloaked and people couldn't see it because they were all in the status quo. But then the status quo started changing, right? And all of a sudden we started seeing things, and we started to see the patterns of the influences of war and all of those things. And those are negative things that people don't actually want to address or look at. But if we're not willing to see what's right there in front of us at face value, which I consider face value being like what's in the field, whether it's positive or negative, it's still the field, and it's the field of potentiality. So that negative potential is also there, and we need to be able to discern and direct our focus and attention towards the positive and not deny that it's there, acknowledge and accept that it's there, but we don't have to engage with it. Discernment. So it's a piece of discernment that comes into play, right? And when we use that discernment, that actually helps us to release ourselves from all the subconscious and unconscious negative influences that could be affecting our reality in the given moment, right? And then there's past life stuff and triggers and traumas and conditioning and trauma in the body, in the cellular matrix, that then influences our thought forms as well. Like, if we get triggered by someone and then it comes back it triggers something from our past.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be willing to look at that and be like, oh, I'm being triggered right now. Like, I'm being triggered, like, holy shit, I'm being triggered right now. And this is actually not, it doesn't have, what's going on right now? Am I actually safe? Is everything okay? Oh, yes, everything's fine. So that person just said something that triggered an old pattern in me. Well, let me look at that pattern and let me deal with it so that it doesn't continue to trigger me.
From that place.
And I'm not manifesting from that place. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
So
look at all of our friends.
I know. I don't know if anybody's watching. Maybe one person, it says. But, it never looks like anybody's watching, but then you see that there's a bunch of views.
I love it.
And so you never know. So whoever's out there watching us, we love you. Thank you. It's been an hour. We'll probably wrap it up now, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got some Goodwill hunting to do.
We've got some Goodwill hunting to do. Okay, we love you. Day 10, Live 365. We'll see you tomorrow.
Peace out. Peace.
Oh my God, that was crazy. Okay, I love that. Peace in your butt crease. Bye. I'm like, what am I doing? Oh my God. And I don't even know. Are we still recording?